All right, you're all set, Steve.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to call the order of the meeting today of the committee to review purpose, composition, functionality, and effectiveness of standing committees in the town of Barnstable. This is August 4th, 2025, 3 p.m. I will say before we start that this meeting is being recorded and will be rebroadcast on the town of Barnstable's Government Access channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording the meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. Seeing no one, this meeting will be replayed via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed through the Government Access Channel live video on-demand archive on the Town of Barnstable website. So we'll go for a roll call.
Certainly. Councilors Turkelson.
Here.
Burdick. Lutke.
Here.
Chair of Committee, Councilor John Crow.
Here.
Vice President Chris Clark.
Here.
You have quorum.
Okay, I just want to say that we heard from Councilor Burdick. He's running a little late, but we'll be here. And first thing, public comment. Larry, got anything?
Just an update on the human services, what the status of that may be. It's up to you. I don't know where you are because it was left in limbo before. And the other thing is that I've been working on Chapter 241 of the Administrative Code. And I'm going to have information to give to you as a committee. What you've done is looked at certain committees on there. I'm trying to look at it globally. So I'm going to try to give you something on that for you to circulate amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, today we have a continued discussion of purpose and functionality of towns, boards, committees, and commissions. And we have with us today Lindsay Council, the chair of the Community Preservation Committee. So I come up and
Sure.
say hello and tell us what you're up to.
Well, we're doing our regular bit of business. We just finished up a pretty good fiscal year with several projects we got through. The state match is going to be a little bit less this year because of the downturn in real estate. So we continue to take in with total town revenue and match about $5 million. So
Can you explain what the state match is?
State match is a fund that was put together at the very beginning of the CPC and Community Preservation Act to supplement funds that the towns were able to raise through their property taxes. And now it's become a regular thing. It wasn't supposed to really be a regular addition, but the legislators found so much popularity with funding CPCs.
What's the formula for that, Lindsay?
It's some formula, boy, you'd need to talk to Mark Milne about that, but there's a formula based on how much taxes you pay, whether you're a 3% town, which is the maximum, or
Right.
2 or 1, and then they kick you back a certain amount of funds based on your surcharge. So it winds up to be, I think, about $1.5 million or so, maybe more dollars every year.
That's a good amount.
It's a good amount.
It's
Yeah.
not our personal, our town of Barnstable residents' taxpayer money, although it's money we pay to the state, but anyways,
Yeah.
I'm just saying it doesn't come out of our general fund.
Oh, that's good.
And we've been, fairly successful over the years in raising matching funds from our applicants. We've spent just under 40 million CPC funds, but we've had a match of over 70 million on that. So,
Well, isn't that part of your process? When you have applicants, don't they have to show some ability to fund? I mean, you're not
Yeah,
gonna,
we require-
somebody's not gonna walk up and says, I have nothing.
well, yeah, we've had some of those,
Okay.
particularly recently. Some organizations, Federated Church in here in Hyannis and the Universalist Cemetery.
Oh, for the cemetery.
Yeah, they had no extra funding to do that. And, the cemeteries are a little bit funny. They used to be maintained by the town, and the town turned them back to the property owner. In that case, it's a Universalist cemetery, but it's not a Universalist church. So it's kind of gray in there. So we felt that it was important to do something with it, but not really burden them. I think they put in $1,000 perhaps or something.
Okay, well, that's good to hear that, everybody has an opportunity to take advantage of the program.
Sure, absolutely.
Not just those with the significant funds.
Right, and it's been repeated again. The self-congregational churches just in the application process for their little cemetery next to their building. And, again, they're limited in their funding, so.
Yeah. And can we ask questions, John? I just noticed on our town council agenda we have coming up, and it says in the little blurb about it, that it was voted on in 2023 to give, I'm pulling a number out, 2.5 million to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yes.
And that was voted on, but we're now in 2025. Does this vote, what was the vote? And is this something we keep doing? Because I'm just wondering, was that your initiative to bring that forward?
No, it's an
How did
annual, it's semi-annual ask from the Housing Trust. We've given them, I think, 12.5 million total. And they just use it to replenish their funds so they can administer the housing projects in the town. We used to do that ourselves.
I know, you used to do, you don't touch housing now.
Nope.
What if somebody came to you with housing?
I'd send them to the trust.
Really?
Yeah, it's too complicated, too many rules that we don't really partake in, if you will. I mean, it's all separate category.
But it said there was a vote of the town council that said that this 2.5, is that accurate, or is it you guys? Who votes or who authorizes the amount that you give to the trust every year?
Well, it's all done in the same procedure. The CPC doesn't approve anything. CPC has no authority to
Right,
implement anything without
Okay.
the town council.
yeah,
The community preservation program is quite a bit different than other programs. It's crazy independent, and the group solicits projects from the outside and takes projects from the town, and the group has to approve it, and then we send it to you all, the council, to give the final approval.
They make recommendations.
Well, I
and
mean,
right, well, the most
modify.
recent one was stabilizing the armory,
Right,
which you had recommended,
yes,
and then we put that off,
right, so that stays the same.
yeah.
The money is there in that pot approved by the CPC, and it'll wait upon your group's approval of the overall project. And then the fund gets put in an account for the Department of Public Works, and they draw from it. And that's the way the whole capital program works.
Now, does your money ever disappear? I mean, you could build it up, I mean, does it have any kind of fiscal, spend that you have to do, or?
No, there's no amount that's required to be allotted.
Okay.
But the one interesting thing about CPC funds is once it's an award from the CPC, there's no expiration date. Like in the town, you've got
Right,
3 years to
exactly,
use
yeah.
it. No, there's no expiration date.
Yeah,
Well, you do have the 10-10-10 requirement, the allotment.
the allotment,
The 10%,
Oh, yes, set
Must-
asides. That's
must-
called a set aside, yeah.
at least 10% is put aside for affordable housing,
Right.
or workforce housing. At least 10% is put aside for open space. At least 10% is put aside for historic preservation. That leaves 70% for discretion.
yeah,
And open space is split between recreation and open space.
because you can do a playground,
Yeah, we can build playgrounds, but that comes out of that same 10%
yeah.
For open space.
for open space.
Now, who do you interact with the most on the staff? Does anyone guide you, or you guide yourself?
Well, legal department, I think, is probably our closest contact.
Is that, when you're presented with an idea, or do you go to them with day-to-day questions?
Both. Usually if something comes in, we send the application and such to legal to make sure that they're okay with it. And there's many questions that arise depending on the project. Open space projects are fairly cut and dry. But, we've had sort of, over the years, developed certain procedures that were required by you all and the manager to like not overburden the town with open space acquisitions that require a lot of management.
Well, it seems like you work with the Barnstable Land Trust in that regard.
Yeah, we work with the Land Trust, Barnstable Land Trust, Arundel Land Trust. We work with Audubon. We take applications from everyone regarding open space.
So your general guidance, we're going into our strategy in September, your general guidance from the town is don't overburden us with having to maintain
Properties, yes.
property.
That's
What's a
one.
property? I mean, what's the list?
The list.
Playgrounds, what, parks? Because I had always heard parks are parks are just too much maintenance for the town.
Yes, and that's why I think we needed, we were talking earlier about an overall plan to develop playgrounds. Because we're
Oh, I agree.
they're severely, they took them all down over the years because they were, quote, unsafe by these new standards. And we haven't replaced them. We've been working, how long in hospital now?
17 years.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
one's
it's been a
funded
while.
finally.
And those become town projects. And we go through, Structures and Ground goes through the manager to submit those. So we
Where
don't.
does that
really-
money, does that money have to come out of your funds or it comes out of the general fund?
Well, generally it comes out of both, because
Both.
they'll come and say, for example, this part of the project is eligible for CPC funds on a playground.
Okay.
And that would be the hardware for the structures, the board in place, floors that they all require, that cost way too much money. But CPC can't do lighting, and we can't do parking lots. So that, they'll balance that request with a match from usually the CIP, and then the CPC funds will cover the items that they can cover. And the same thing's true with historic projects. We can't do electrical upgrades on a building, for example, but we take care of, like this building, the exterior masonry, and the slate roof, and these kind of restoration pieces that are eligible, because through the historic portion of the CPC, it's not sort of like rehabilitation, it's gotta be restoration in a historically accurate
Exactly.
manner.
Yeah.
So,
So how do you, how do you do your planning? How do you interact with our director of planning staff? I mean, it sounds like you're sitting there and someone comes to you.
correct.
So you're very reactive, but yet we had this conversation about Hathaways and things. And I've had residents come to me like, why don't we have a pickleball court in Hyannis? I don't want to drive, to Marston's Mills. Why don't we have a playground in Hyannis that's not associated with school? So people are asking, can you plan, or do you have to be reactive by law? Can you engage in some planning that maybe budgets and looks at money?
Well,
Can
we
you do
develop
that?
our plan for the year every, this time of year, going into the fall after we get the state match. And one of the items the members really wanna look at is this playground plan, because we funded so many other historic projects and community housing and open space, that
But
this
how are
is,
you gonna do that, Lindsay? Are you
Well,
gonna
we'll
hire a
discuss it.
contractor?
well, we can't hire a contractor
That's
for
what
a
I'm saying, do you
project
have
like
to
that.
then,
We
how do you go into the town? Do you go into the director of planning?
We go through planning, we work closely with the folks up there and then suggest a plan, and I've asked them a number of times, and they seem to think that they have the internal capacity to do it, although I
I don't think
haven't
they
really seen
do.
the results. So I think this year you'll see the committee asked to develop an overall plan with a budget that could be implemented through the CIP, through the manager, and on from there.
How would we engage? How would we help you or hurt you or do anything? What do you need us to?
Just be supportive of the proposals that come forward, and take a good look at your
Trust
CIP.
that you've done it, you've reviewed them and
Yeah.
you've worked with legal and everything is good.
Yeah, it would be, probably through the CIP program, and say that, you see this need in the town, like any, whether it's a bridge that needs to be fixed or a roadway, and say, no, we really wanted to address this need in the community.
Yeah, well,
If I
we,
may, I think
you
I
know,
think that the CPC has to be reactive. I think that they're appointed to evaluate proposals that come before them. I don't think they have the bandwidth and staff support to initiate a project that then they're gonna evaluate their own. I don't think that it works that
we
way.
can't, is that by law?
No, the CPC is allowed to initiate projects, but it's so closely tied with the town, it's really, some of the projects that we'd get involved in would be, kind of mega projects, if you will. These playgrounds are running about $1.5 million a piece, and it's maintenance.
Playgrounds are a big deal.
Yeah, they're a big deal, but when you come to something similar like an open space project, that's fairly cut and dry, and you buy it and it's done, it's over, Historic gets very involved, with the nuances of that program. And mainly, we either have a private entity, such as one of the historic groups or one of the antique churches that we have, they'll manage it. And we direct them. We actually have some pretty stringent requirements for outside historic projects, because we've learned over the years that these things are very much involved. So we require that they have an accurate Form E through the Mass Historical Commission. Then they have to have a full building evaluation on what the existing conditions are. And then that's broken down into what is eligible and not eligible for CPC, and it kind of rolls along. So it takes a fair amount of project investigation and research to really pull one off. And an interesting one here is the one you'll probably be seeing soon is the Oddfellows Hall, which is a very interesting project. It's got 2 commercial spaces down below and a club room upstairs. And they have a sort of interesting eligibility because it's a for-profit income from the rents from the
Store.
2 stores, but they're in essence a nonprofit entity. And we're working with, legal has been looking at their eligibility as a nonprofit. But we'll probably only be able to do the exterior of that building because the clubhouse and that is really not part of the historical structure.
Yeah.
So that, many times we just remain in the exterior of the building, which many towns do, particularly with private homes, for example. We've determined here through the council actually that we weren't gonna fund any private homes. But in other towns, they'll just do the exterior of a private home, the view, what it looks like, not necessarily.
Well, if they're historical, you
Yeah.
can't, why couldn't you?
At the time, and I still feel it's rather true, but then you become tied into what the realm of the historic restriction is. Because every private entity that we bring in, we have to write up a rather extensive historic restriction that goes with the deed,
The preservation restriction,
preservation restriction.
historic preservation.
So it's
restriction.
tied into that. So you're really kind of messing with equity into the home. And,
Yeah.
is that gonna limit a seller in the future to sell a property if it's got this,
Yeah, well,
$300,000 or $400,000 project that was supported with community preservation funds? So it's better to just stay away from that for now and see how it goes.
I'd just like to interrupt for 1 minute to let the audience know that Councilor Burdick has arrived. And so go ahead, Lindsay.
So that's just one sort of little nuance of the project. We don't see many private recreation projects. For example, we originally had a request from the Catholic school down here to redo the small field on that property, but when they saw the requirements to have a recreation restriction on the property, they didn't want to place any liens on the property, so, you're required to have a lien on the property if you fund it with CPC funds,
Yeah.
so.
if I may, you're making me think of a plan, and I think that's where the local comprehensive plan comes into place, where Lindsay was involved in anyways, as a citizen. And
I don't know, I mean, I look at things like, okay, let's look at that park where we built the sewage pumping station, and you brought it up at one of the meetings. We just planted this sea of grass, okay? Incredibly labor-intensive,
I
water-intensive,
agree.
against
I agree.
everything that I think, of course, we're going into the strategy, I hope we discuss this in the strategy. Why the heck did we do that? Why aren't there pickleball courts there? Why isn't there a playground for all these people who, it's all next to the environmental justice communities? I mean, where's the disconnect? And, you said he has to be reactive, but who's coming with a playground? Nobody's coming with a playground.
Well, you can't do that there because that was bought with land bank funds. Land bank is for open space only. And back in the day when I actually suggested we put room for that pump station, that's why it's off in that corner.
So you can't do anything, you can't
It's
do
just open
recreation.
space. So you probably could do, well, someone had suggested community gardens there, for example. And again, I'd have to lean on legal to look at the
Yeah.
land bank, and but that didn't have the other parts of it like the CPC did.
Yeah, Community Preservation Act expanded on land bank, whereas land bank was just
Right,
open
land
space.
use,
So
yeah,
that's
that's
why
right.
it was purchased under those conditions, so it
Yeah.
has to honor the
Right,
conditions at that
Yeah.
time for a land bank.
I'd like to make it into a more natural park. There's a stream that runs under that.
oh, I
park.
know there is, that's what I'm saying, I think it's horrible what we did, and they took those 2 statues, whether you like, or sculptures, whether you like them or not, and they just jammed them together before they were apart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Yeah,
What the heck? I mean, that's just embarrassing for a town to do that.
I don't know why they didn't put the statue back, but anyway. But that row of trees that was planted was not doing very well anyway, so I don't miss those. But
No,
they
no.
also earlier took down, there was a bank of flowers, perennials along the street that they took out that was not well done either, so. I always thought that, you know, some type of restoration in keeping with the stream
The
would be
stream,
good,
exactly, exactly.
but we'll see.
So Lindsay, can I ask a question? The $2.5 million that goes to the Affordable Housing Trust, is that part of the 10% that's set aside for housing, or is that part of the 70% that's under discretion?
Well, I believe in this case, the majority of it's coming out of community housing money, and then the balance will be out of the undesignated. So we set aside the funds in these categories.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if that was, you know, like, because each year they're gonna be taking that money, if that's part of that 10%, which kind of, you know, sucks up part of that 10% is always designated towards that, or whether that came out of the 70% left over, leaving 10% for discretionary projects that may come in a given year. So I just didn't know how that.
Another way to think about it, so it's once it goes from CPC, it's already accounted for in its category. And one confusing thing is, when we have to say this, it gets kind of distorted in the other room. But, you know, we generally have 10 or 15 projects going on at once. And it's very difficult for Mark Milne to know when DPW is gonna come in and hand him a bill for $250,000 or something. So, and that may draw down this year's funds to a certain level where we have to go into the undesignated. So we keep the balances current, and we always say, you know, it'll come first out of the appropriate line item, which is open space, recreation, or housing. You know, so it comes out of there first, and anything that exceeds that will come out of the undesignated. So we're never overspending on a category, because anything that exceeds the 30% total goes into undesignated, and that can be used for anything. So.
Yeah, I get the sense like there's, having watched the meetings, that that some people feel like their 10% is not being, that's funded as well, and I mean, I don't have any validity for that statement, so I just was curious if that 2.5 million was, you know, but you've explained it, so it makes sense now.
Basically, and people sort of question it because they don't see as much action, we've basically spent an equal amount on the three main categories. It's about, I think it's about 12 million each. So,
Per what?
for total expenditures,
12 million per what
Category.
time frame?
for the total program.
Since the beginning.
Since the beginning,
Yeah,
okay.
we
With
spent
the
about
begin-
total, I think it's about 38 million.
How many years?
It's been 20,
Wow, 20 already?
2006, yeah.
CPA?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, 10%, you said it's generally 5 million this year?
It will be, it's been creeping up every year.
So 10% of 5 million is 500,000, so
2.5 million is
2.5
well
million.
above the
Yes.
10%.
Right, but they don't come in annually every request. It's generally running about a year and a half or a little bit longer for the trust. You know, they still had some funds left over, and this will replenish them. And that way they don't have to scour around and look for money for project development or any of that. They have some money in the bank. So it's worked out well. They've done a good job, and you know, I'd like to see more units, but at $700 or $800 a square foot for construction around here, it's, and I think, you know.
But once you release it, like you said, you're done.
We're done. But we get them back twice a year. They give us a report on what they're doing. You know, members are interested. But, yeah, once we finish with the project and you all approve it, then it goes to the folks that'll be doing the project.
Do you get much public comment? Because this is, again, this was voted by the residents of the town of Barnstable, and we are funded to the highest percent, 3%.
Yep.
Do you get much public comment?
No, not lately.
Not
Not in the
lately.
last couple of years, no. It's amazing. We have $1 million projects, and, you know, whether it's fixing the armory or doing some playground or buying a piece of open space, you just.
I think people aren't aware of it myself. I don't think there's,
Well, we had people come in support of the train station. but that was at the
Yeah.
council. I mean, it was already down the road at that
It was already
point.
down the road, but I'm just saying at your meetings,
Not that much lately, it's kind of faded into the sort of everyday, you know, kind of looked
Yeah.
at as a town entity that just sort of, you know, expends these funds. So I can honestly say, you know, you get a project like the Mill Pond in Morrison's Mills and nobody comes.
yeah.
Don't get any letters of support. We get more for historic really, because that's a cluster of folks that are
Yeah.
self-interested, so we get that. But when the land trust brings it in, we rarely see them, you know?
But they bring letters of support with the project, don't they?
Occasionally.
Or, I know that there were letters of support for the train station.
Train station was a good example of how that's, you know, a community thing, but see, that's kind of more visible. You know, the station's
true.
kind of getting run down and people want to see it fixed. A backwoods piece of open space that's got
Yeah,
fewer
nobody-
butters,
Yeah.
you know?
Now, do
Yeah.
you see equity among the villages? Are all the villages getting their fair slice of the pie?
No, I would say Hyannis is underserved in open space and recreation overall, yeah.
Why is that?
Land, we've been looking for land in for a playground, and I know Elizabeth's gone now, but she had wanted to, you know, put some kind of park here. We were looking to, you know, if we were able to ever have afforded the golf course over here.
I say,
Twin
are you
Brooks.
gonna partner with Riverview at all? Could they
We're
come
trying
to
to do that through the land trust, because we got our bid on that. We were very surprised at how much that came in at. It was quite a bit more than we had, you know, figured. But she went immediately to Riverview, and they're interested in doing, quote, something.
Okay.
But again, it comes down to the restriction that would be required on the property. You know, people are very reticent to engage in that. So, we'll see.
Now, you buy property for open space, would you buy property for a playground?
Absolutely. Do it in a minute now, yes.
But if we go back to what Councilor Clark was saying, she doesn't think you should be proactive. I mean, who's gonna come to you and say, I wanna sell you my property for a playground? I mean, who's gonna do that? Don't you have to do some sort of search? Shouldn't we be proactive as a town in looking at properties that,
Yeah, well, we have lists of properties that have been on
Okay.
our lists for years. I mean, it's just that you need, you know, for a park, like we're talking about, at least an acre of land, because you gotta figure, you know, utilities and parking.
yeah,
And there's just not an acre of land kicking around in Hyannis that I'm aware of that hasn't got somebody looking to do something with it, you know? So, it's just availability. So. And we do send out letters, we haven't done it recently, but in the past, we've done blanket mailings to everyone with over 5 acres, for example. And we're, you know, working with the water districts, for example, each one of the water districts has different needs.
right.
Like we, you know, tried to put something together with Hyannis out on the property out in Comaquid on Oakmont. And they looked at it and said, you know, it just wouldn't be suitable. But they still have needs, you know, they still need a large quantity of water, and so does COMM, so we're working with them on that. And we have a standing with Hyannis Water to protect some of their zone ones. We have a standing amount of funds set aside for them if anything comes up that they need appraised right away. And the same is true with COMM. So we're ready if anything comes.
Because all their zone ones are not protected.
Yeah, the land within their zone ones is not protected.
That's a requirement of the state.
So we have ongoing projects, and we work with the land trust, we have a list going with them. But, you know, they're not really looking at properties for playgrounds and things, you know, and they don't look at that, but we think that, for example, Hathaway's and Lovell's Pond might be a good place to build playgrounds. We have a need for playground, you know, I think somewhere in the eastern part of town. Maybe the Comaquid Inn property would support a playground. But the other thing too is that we are actually, you know, we're running out of sites. It's towns
Exactly.
built out virtually. And this is one of the things I tried to push for in the local comp plan, is to get an evaluation of where are we in terms of build out.
Right,
Where is the
exactly.
available acreage? And you know, I think that would be very important for the town.
Yeah, I mean, the
Didn't they just
statistic,
hire a consultant to look at the recreation plan or something? Wasn't that?
Open space plan.
Oh, open space plan. So that, would that include, playgrounds and parks in
Yes.
that?
That's the time to
Yeah.
weigh in on it, you're right.
there's a survey out too for recreation, there's a survey underway.
Open space and recreation, the whole thing.
But yeah, no, Cape wide, it's the famous, what do we only have, 13% left?
Yeah, that's a Cape Wide number, that's not
Cape Wide.
Barnstable.
I think Barnstable is far less.
Far
It'd be
less.
interesting to know that number.
Yeah, I think you
I think
need,
Hyannis is really far less.
yeah, and you need that breakdown by village and what you intend to do out there.
Right.
The other thing you need is cost of services analysis. What's it really costing? I know, the theory has been that you'll fund wastewater and that kind of stuff through new development. Well, that's gonna end, so what are you gonna do in the meantime? And, we lose money on every new house that's built because the cost of services.
Well,
at the
it's
fire
funny you
station.
should say that. We had a discussion at our last meeting about CFAC looking at something. I mean, there was a very spirited discussion with Councilor Burdick. And at 6 o'clock tonight, the CFAC is meeting with the developer. Just what you said, cost of services.
Right.
And I think that's a great way to use some of our committees. I mean, I'd like to be more proactive with you. I don't like any of our committees to be reactive.
Yeah,
I think everybody should be lean forward as far as they can. And there should be, an open discussion. I mean, this playground thing is huge. It really is huge for Hyannis.
well, it shouldn't be just one village, though. It really needs to put some, a map on the wall with some push pins and see where the good playgrounds are and where there's room to develop.
Yeah.
And would the town be willing to dedicate some land if it's available to do that?
Yeah.
And, you've got some of the beaches, you've got, a big project that's looming in the background of all this is the old Marstonville School.
Of course.
That could be a $10 or $15 million project by the time you're done. So the committee has sort of been holding back, waiting for some of these things to come, but, it's only on simmer. We'd like to.
Do you have enough stuff right now to keep yourselves occupied?
Well, we do, if you look at the CIP, but I think some of the things in the CIP, are really really shouldn't be supported entirely by CPC, That's a big expense over here in this building here. Takes a big
The
chunk.
armory?
Yeah, armory, yeah. And, those kinds of things are okay, but it doesn't move us forward anywhere. That's my, I think that we could do better if we were to come forward through the planning department, for example, with an overall plan on a parks project that would really make a difference in this town. And I think we could work a little bit more closely through the town manager on the CIP and really stick to things that are, going to be needed in the near future, like you guys looked at that and said, wait a minute, what are we doing? We don't have a plan for that building yet. Decisions haven't been made on how to deal with this campus. And I think, we spent $3.5 million in this building, but it still looks horrible with all the AC and stuff outside.
Oh, of course.
It's horrible.
That side is horrible.
It's horrible. And there are plans, and DPW has had them for a while to deal with some of this stuff, but it needs a more holistic look that's outside of our group. And we'd
But you're a
welcome
good
it.
advocate. Again, this is our residents' money. They pay it in addition to their taxes.
Mhm.
And it ought to be more proactive. I mean, I really like what you're saying, Lindsay. that,
But we're only one part of the machine, and
Lindsay,
everyone is maxed out too, I mean.
Lindsay also has a lot of institutional knowledge, because I showed him a book I had on town open space and recreation plan from 1997, and his name's on it, so.
Yeah, we did the first actually open space plan.
So he's been at this for a while. In my opinion, I think that the town ought to do this holistic look at what's available for properties and look at properties that would be a candidate for municipal water that's not already designated as conservation. Because I think once we lose property from which we can get water from 20, 50, 100 years from now, doesn't necessarily have to be developed for production at this time, but just put aside the land before it's not an option. then we're gonna have a lot more critical problems. And that was the number one wish of the council, of the people at the very first Open Space Committee, on which I served with Lindsay, that criteria number one was to preserve land for municipal water use. That, I think, got outvoted 10 times criteria number two, and there was about a dozen of them. So that by far was the weight of the wish back then. And I don't, other than I think off of Plum Street, begins with an S. I forgot the land we bought, the town bought off of Plum Street, used some CPC money and it got some state grant for water, but that particular parcel is very difficult to get to off of Plum Street.
Oh, you're talking,
I forgot,
Wortman's property up in there?
I was trying not to say his name, but
You
yeah,
don't care.
but the name of the Falcon Road,
Falcon
that's what I
Road.
was trying to remember. So that was, I think, the only parcel we bought purposefully for water, unless I'm wrong.
I'd have to think about that for a minute.
But
But anyway, I
and
would
then-
take a slightly different take on that. I think that what the town ought to be doing is look at all municipal land, regardless of how it was taken, particularly like the West Barnstable Conservation Area. And you can get, permission to do these things. It only took me about 15 years to get permission to put the bikeway over the state land out there.
Yeah.
Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah, Fish and Wildlife. And everyone said you're out of your mind, it'll never happen. Well, it happened. Only because we were able to come up with a formula that repaid them in other lands. We had to give them the hunting permits
see.
on Bridge Creek, and we were able to negotiate a
You're
deal.
talking about going through Hyannis Ponds?
Yeah, Hyannis Ponds. They were controlling over 110,000 acres, and they hadn't
Oh, that's a
given an
lot.
easement on any property ever.
Yeah,
And after we did the analysis, it said this is really the only east-west location in town. Through our legal department back then, we were able to make a case that, this was a viable option. And so it's not impossible. So I would lean to, and if you're talking about drinking water, which by the way was the highest category in the comprehensive plan of all of the surveys we did, was drinking water and, pond and abatement water quality, 1 and 2, no question. And then come up through the water districts as to where the best place to do this would be. And then circle back and get if you need to get permission from the state for something like a well at the West Barnstable Conservation Area. Because going out and finding and buying land, is very little of that would support a new well site. Because you need the 400-foot radius, and it's very difficult. You need 7 or 8 acres minimum.
that's
And then it has to be, inside, a zone 2 area that doesn't have something up above it that could contribute. So it's very complicated what they look at. So I think you should look at through the districts first, and then come up with the properties that would be eligible, and then seek the permissions to do it. That's doable.
Yeah, well,
I
that
hear
was
you.
the same, that same municipal plan inventory was at the heart of the housing ad hoc committee. Until we know what we have, you can't plan.
Right.
And I never did
Interesting.
see it, I never saw it.
Hmm.
Anybody see it?
No.
No, I mean, that sounds like, basic data crunching.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of looking at maps and getting
Yeah.
experts in and knowing the soils and all of that. And
Right.
once you solve all of that,
Yeah,
then you can, say you've got well here that's perfect and it happens to be on state land. Well, then you come back and say, okay, we need 10 acres there. Let's look through the CPC to come up with a matching site that would
Yeah.
offset the loss of that land for the purposes of putting a well there.
okay,
So I think you kind of need to be quite a bit more proactive
yeah,
through the districts. Because they know what their needs are, and most of them, off the hand, need 1 million gallon or more capacity,
and are
looking
you
50 years.
pleased with your committee right now? Are you fully staffed, or you?
No, we're not, we're down 2 members still.
Down 2?
When
Yes.
did you guys get down 2 members? Did somebody else leave?
Yeah, we lost our recreation member, and then our historic member passed away. So we've been down two members for a long time.
Didn't we appoint somebody?
I think there's somebody in
The
the queue.
recreation,
No, we've put,
We
Recreation
put people
committee.
into recreation and historic.
yeah,
And they
you've put
have to
off the
nom-
vote twice. It needs to be ratified by the council.
Is it on there?
Yeah, but it got,
Both of these?
yeah, but you left at 11 PM last time, so
Exactly.
it's gotta go through 2 reads again.
And that doesn't mean that person's necessarily gonna volunteer for CPC.
That's right. It's-
We have the full recreation commission, nobody wants to do it.
And actually,
So-
a
How can they
designee,
not wanna do it? I mean, it's the key to recreation.
Well,
Volunteers.
you know, going to 12 meetings a year plus another 12.
Double your commitment.
It's a
they're
big
not like
commitment.
us, go to more meetings than we need to.
More meetings. You guys know all about that. And so you've got site visits and all of that. You know, they're just not interested, which we can't force
But
them.
it's prescribed by state law
Yeah.
on who,
On
what the
who's on
makeup
it.
of.
Okay, well, with what you have, do you have a good functioning committee?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah?
it's good, yeah, but we're stressed in that, you know, we have 9 members, but only 7. You know, we can't have people going on vacation, you know, they gotta be
Right,
at the meeting, so.
okay.
That's a good group, and we move things right along, we don't dilly-dally, I mean, something comes in, we usually move it along.
Okay,
Although we are taking a little closer look at a couple projects that, you know, I'm rather insistent that we know, particularly in open space, that we're getting a decent price. Land prices are kind of crazy, you know. So I asked at the last meeting on a particular project to get another appraisal, even though there was one, well, I don't frankly care. I wanna make sure we're, you know, when I'm standing in front of you guys, that this is a decent deal, based on the parameters of that particular project,
yeah.
you know. Because a lot of the land that,
Did you guys negotiate Prince Cove, the one we lost?
I had nothing to do with that.
How come?
I wasn't asked.
What do you mean you weren't asked?
I wasn't asked.
How's
When
that?
first we saw it was they needed to come in for an emergency meeting to approve it in one meeting to,
Wait, you needed to approve it.
yeah, it was gonna be
You
all
approved Prince Cove,
yes,
but you had no role in, like you just said, the price or anything else?
nothing. They came in and they needed to get it approved. They had a handshake deal, I guess, with the owner. Needed it approved in one meeting, which violated our,
Well, why'd you do that, Lindsay?
because it was time sensitive. And a town project. So we agreed, and that was fine. We've done that once before, and it worked out. And then wherever it went from there, it didn't go through. But you gotta see, real estate, you gotta get something. You gotta get
Yeah.
a signature on something.
Yeah, because we appropriated that money.
Yeah, you guys took it up right away, and it went through you guys. But I guess it was the 30-day wait, which a lot of people, you know, I have to explain to them very clearly that, you know,
The appeal period.
your appeals period's 30 days. Nothing happens before then. I mean, we've had people, you know, with a historic project, they've got a contract that's ready to start, and we have to tell them, I can't cut you a check until
30 days.
30 days. They get itchy.
So unless I'm wrong, it looks like the town has this appeal period. All the town's doings are public information, but a private person doesn't need to wait 30 days. They can outbid the town and scoop it up and doesn't have to wait the 30 days. So, to my understanding, something.
Yeah, they didn't have a P&S.
I was gonna say, but if we had had a PNS, they couldn't have
Right.
gone forward.
Do you normally want a PNS? I mean,
Oh, yeah,
demand
definitely.
it?
We wouldn't move something without a P&S.
But you did move this without a PNS.
Yeah, we normally didn't, but this was a request through the town, so we accommodated.
Who's the town?
Well, generally, we deal with the town manager. And I guess I assumed it was locked up. I didn't really question it.
Okay.
And they, you know, they gave a good presentation. There's gonna be, you know, more parking, which was needed, and, you know, kayak and boat space for smaller boats. I think that was the main issue, was that it kind of be more user-friendly as opposed to big docks and big boats. It was a good application. It would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
But, you know, when you go into these, like the land trust would never come in with a open-ended. They do come in with deadlines, but, you know, we have to remind them that, particularly this time of year, or just ended, you know, you start a project in March around here, no guarantees when you're gonna get on the council agenda, you know, because you guys are very, very busy.
Budget season.
So,
But I think that that's one area we could be more proactive, is knowing that they need our assistance
That's what I'm
to move
saying, yeah.
things through, rather than keeping it held back and holding up progress, because some of the things take so long to get done anyway, once you have our approval. It'd be nice if we are more expeditious in getting you on the agenda.
that would be great. I usually the last one on the agenda.
Yeah, so, I mean, I
So-
think that's where we could be more in concert with,
Yeah.
you know, so.
But have you ever done an annual report to the town council? Kind of a wrap-up of what you've done through the year?
We used to have much more closer contact with the council, but previous council leadership has actually wanted to abolish this community preservation committee, so we have,
Okay, well, whatever.
so we had problems, we had real
Well,
problems.
I would like to see, as a counselor, I'd like to see an annual report. You guys are absolutely critical to the success of this community. You touch all those things that are important to people, and you're using taxpayer money. I mean, I just think,
Well, we do fill out an annual report every
I
year
know,
on
but
our
it'd be nice to have a
expenses.
plus then the citizenry could see it too, you know?
Yeah, it'd be great if you can get us on the agenda, but we've asked for a workshop for a number of years and falls on
Talked
deaf
about it,
ears.
but I think that this past year with Councilor Penn being sick kind of
Yeah.
made things a little off kilter, and we had a busy spring. But I think we're getting back on track.
Can I just,
especially get-
I'll ask one more thing and then I'll shut up. So this notion that you were gonna be canceled, then it's up to the voters to cancel the 3%.
Yes.
I mean, if you were obliterated, then we have to take it to the voters to say we're not gonna pay our 3% surcharge.
They would vote to.
What was the idea? I mean, how would that even work?
Well, the
That's
funding, at the
nonsense.
time, it was related to sewer funding, and they thought that that 3% could be better used, funding sewerage, as opposed to.
As a water investment fund.
Yeah, water investment fund, for example. So the notion was to bring it to the people to vote to, you know, change CPC, take that 3% and redirect it. It never got off the ground because 80% of the people in this town voted for the CPC.
Right, okay.
So I think that's where it died when they looked at the reality, and it was not gonna pass, so, you know,
Interesting, okay.
but it was thought.
To Councilor Lutke's point, you do have an annual meeting, or an annual meeting
Yeah,
At
we have
your-
an
at
annual
your own
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah, we put a report every fall. Once the matches from the state are added in, we do a full report to them, what we spend our money on.
But there's
you
a
know.
presentation that's
Yeah, then we have our annual meeting,
that's what I meant.
that describes the year and, you know, we had in the past. And then we open the discussion, it never gets done in one night, on what people would like to see for a plan going forward, for focus areas, really. That's kind of the best way to put it. And this year, I believe it's going to be towards recreation and playgrounds.
Where do you have this meeting?
Here and there.
How many citizens attend, residents?
Not very many.
I mean, how well is
Chris
that
has come.
broadcast? I mean, shouldn't there be one of those banners on Main Street that we're having?
We haven't gone
Well,
that
it
far.
just seems to me this is so much money that we're talking about.
Well, we advertise in the newspaper, and we
Okay.
put the blurb on the local, webpage, town webpage, and it's advertised, but,
Okay.
you know, not much response.
All right.
It's not on there.
Questions from anybody else?
I do have one question. I'm
Sure.
not trying to kick you out at all, but I know you have a lot of knowledge and it's impressive, obviously, and I'm just wondering if you've thought about your exit strategy and how you will bring along the next person who will be in your shoes because you have so much knowledge, and obviously it's gonna leave a gaping hole should you decide you're ready to.
Well, I have decided, and I'm not gonna serve another term after the end of this one, and we've discussed it internally. particularly with my co-chairman, Tom Lee, and I've asked Steve Robichaud to come on board. He will be looking to serve as possible, hopefully, if the committee elects him as vice chair, and I'll be training him over the next 11 months to 10 months to take over.
Well,
So,
you will be missed.
well, after doing this for more than 40 years, I
Yeah.
think I'm done.
But I'm just, that's kind of one of the things
Yeah,
we
no,
talked about
succession plans are
is
critical.
about, term limits, and I mean, in some level, it seems like a good idea, but then there's committees, like your committee that has such a vast knowledge and intricacies of what you do, you can see how, sometimes a term limit isn't always a good idea, and even when people decide that they've had enough, it's a real loss to the committee and more so to the town itself, so I guess that's my concern, is when we have somebody who's really steeped in their committee, it's a loss for the town.
Well, thank you very much. I'll be around, I'll
Yeah.
answer questions, but, yeah, there's a lot to learn, and this town is very complicated in that regard, but, I think that, moving forward, the committee will be fine, they'll do well.
Okay.
All right.
Nothing else for
Anything else?
Lindsay?
Don't be afraid to ask. Sure.
No, I appreciate all you've done all this time, and I do value your institutional knowledge and guidance as the town transitioned from its years of land bank operations to the Community Preservation Committee, so thanks for all you've done.
Well, if we could get something going with this recreation side of things, playgrounds, that'd be great. And the other issue that we've talked about, and hasn't really hit a home run with the town staff, but one way you could do that is a bond issue. And, develop up an overall plan and then use that bond to draw on as projects became available. That way you wouldn't have to be coming back for every single project.
Right.
And that's something that, I've mentioned to Mark Milne, that would be good. And he thought, we've paid off, I believe as of this month, we've paid off all of the last of the land bank debt.
Oh, I think you said that, yeah, you did.
Yeah, we've paid the debt, because we bonded
Right.
that to afford to pay the balance of the debt from Hyannis Golf Course.
Right.
So, there's been a lot of discussion internally with us around, could we do that again? And I think if you were to come forward with a plan to do, something at Hathaway's, something in the Mills, if something that in Comaquid came due, and then a big league playground in, downtown Hyannis, you'd be talking probably close to 10 or 15 million, be worth a bond issue, because then you can pay it over time and you're not tapping into, that kind of reserve, so. I think it'd be well suited.
I had heard from Director Milne about bonding out, and he had a pretty good perspective on it that I hadn't thought of before. He said by bonding out, you're shifting some of the tax burden on the next generation who will be the beneficiaries of what
Yeah.
of that forward-looking expenditure. So I said, that makes sense, because right now the burden is on those of us who are paying the tab now, paying our taxes. But by bonding out that, it shifts it to the future, and they are the primary beneficiaries.
Interesting.
But I do take issue with you on the municipal water or drinking water. When you said it's difficult in the town, that's precisely why I think if there are one or two sites that are candidate sites, that we should at least make an effort to talk to the owner or send some letter of interest saying that with the prospects of build out, your property would be a candidate for future water use if you're ever interested in selling. Towns, I'm sure,
Right, but that's where you need an overall look town-wide.
Yeah,
It's
well,
very
GIS can do that.
GIS, but to determine if a property is suitable for drinking water is very expensive.
Right,
And
I
you gotta
understand.
do well sites.
But the site that they're looking at in West Barnstable are soggy. It traverses, there are wetland plants all over, so I quite frankly, I was surprised it got through permission with the Conservation Commission for the Birch Creek site. But But you're right, the West Barnstable Conservation site is bigger. On the other hand, it's as far west as you can get to feed water to the east part of the town.
Yeah, but we've got to get off this notion of the water in the west, it wouldn't be available in the east part of town. As it stands now, we've got pipes all over this place. You put water in one end, you can take it out the other,
Yeah,
and
my
it's in the
point is,
system.
drilling all the way to West Barnstable to bring water to Hyannis is expensive.
Correct, and it's actually not a good plan, but you could connect it to the COMM hook line that's just over the highway.
True.
Put it in the system and take it out the other end. So we've kind of need
I
a
see.
more holistic view of water in
I
this
see. Oh,
town,
collaboration.
outside of these parochial water districts, so.
Unfortunately, that's the system we have, because it
Yeah.
comes with union contracts and, a whole suite of problems, but
Right, but that's the only
Councilor
way you're
Burdick
gonna
would know.
address
He's-
that.
Prudential Committee member.
The only way you're gonna deal with that is to have a cooperative research effort, including all the districts. And I think they'd be very receptive myself, where you would look at the whole town,
I agree.
So, anyway, that's, a matter for another time, but similar, again, if that was to be done, you could take out a bond issue, help these districts to secure proper land, and off and running. Is that it?
Lindsay, I
All right.
appreciate you coming.
Yeah, anytime.
Answering the questions.
Let me know if you think of anything later that I can ask.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Relaxation.
Okay, moving on to the next item, we've got the approval of minutes for both May 21st and July 21st, 2025. So do we have a
I
motion
move-
to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes from May 21, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, moved and seconded, let's have a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, and then we also have the approval of minutes for July 21st. Do we have somebody to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm
Okay,
going to
great.
abstain.
Before we go on to the next meeting dates, we need to talk about who we want to see here for next. Committee chair, we want to see, it's, what are the ideas?
Unrelated to that topic.
Pardon?
But we could fall under matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. You want to go on now? It's not on there, but.
I just want to say one thing before you do that, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I just appreciated all your comments the last couple
Well,
meetings
thanks.
in the back and forth. And kind of like how we're trying to wrangle our head and our hands around the concept. Because obviously 40 committees doing their own things out in the universe, and then we're doing our thing, and then we have the strategic plan and the HPP and the LCP. It's like wrangling cats.
Right.
Like, so I just appreciate the conversation. I know I didn't get to interject, but I just wanted to thank you guys because I agreed with a lot of what you're
So
saying.
thanks.
So.
And that's what I was gonna mention, because it's not on here.
Yeah,
But
I'd like to keep that conversation going, because if this committee is gonna make some sense, we ought to be. I mean, I'm really happy that the CFAC has taken on, and they're gonna be talking to the developer this evening. Because they have the knowledge and the expertise. If we're not gonna use our committees, I just, for what is in front of us, to give
Right.
us better data, then,
well, just as when you were talking to Lindsay now, and I was thinking, RE recreation in Hyannis, or this possible bond issue, or whatever, however you wanna look at it. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a surefire mechanism for directing them to do a specific thing? Do you know what I mean? Like.
no, that's what I'm saying, yeah,
So we obviously talked a lot about
Yeah.
it last meeting, and
yes.
shame on everybody who's on the town code ad hoc and the town council rules, because
It
Rule
should be in-
6F
Oh, is that what it
is
is?
referral
Oh, my goodness.
to committees, and it says,
See.
when a matter properly before the council relates to a subject which may properly be examined and reported upon by an existing or new ad hoc committee or standing committee of the council, such matter shall, upon motion and a majority vote of the council, be referred to such committee. Any matter may be referred to a standing committee, commission, or board of the town with appropriate jurisdiction for advice sought by the town council upon motion and a majority vote of the council.
Well, there you go, it already exists.
It already
So
exists.
guess what?
Jeez, we've
I'm
all
gonna
been
do.
asleep at the wheel.
Like,
So-
I looked at it and it's just very clear as day, and I
Yeah,
said,
right
well,
there.
There it is.
Well,
Thank you, Allison.
I think the thing is, from listening to, the meetings that I missed and thinking just about kind of the problem with like town government is, we have 13 people operating, we get on the dais, we do not have this open form of communication.
Right.
We have tried to create that a couple times. So I know, is it Amherst or that opens up their meeting and they just ask a counselor at each meeting, is there anything you wanna see brought forward or any
Well, a lot of-
issues?
I know
or-
Cambridge does, any
Is it Ca- okay,
counselor
it's
can make
Cambridge.
a motion from
Yeah.
the meeting.
So, I mean, I know the agenda setting is a place that we can bring things forward, but not everybody gets to go to the agenda setting, cause people
You can't.
are working,
yeah.
and so,
Meaning
you
if
might have a
everybody
great
wanted-
idea, and then you either have to email,
Right.
then also, the problem with the agenda setting is like, if there's 3 counselors in leadership, then those 3 counselors in leadership know, but nobody else really knows.
Well-
So there's kind of this whole way that we don't communicate, and then we show up, and we are reactive.
But you
We show
know,
up on the dais
you-
and,
We could be very proactive.
no, I know, we could.
We have liaisons to every single committee. Those liaisons just sit there passively and never report. That part of the agenda is not for the pancake breakfast. It's for the liaisons and the committees to report. For example, I'm not the liaison to the Waterways Committee. I was there and Chris was there. I was speaking in support of something. But then after that, they had a discussion about the pirate ship. Now, the pirate ship is a very valuable tourist attraction, hugely valuable. And they were having problems with their slip because there's a very large vessel that's now parking beside them. So there was a very engaged discussion. And I was watching and I was saying, again, you have to kind of put these things together. The Baxter's thing is being evaluated by the town. What if we put that in the mix? What if we tasked the Waterways Committee? And then they had a huge discussion. They had a map of all their slips. This is where all the boats come to clean out their tanks. This is the only place where we can off-put the fishing catch. But, that would help inform us on our decision about Baxter's if we use this expertise and said, put Baxter's in the mix. Now the town owns that. Now how do you arrange this? What can happen in the harbor? So we have these standing committees that are there that we could use, but I think it's up to, I don't know, is it up to leadership? Is it up to address it our strategic plan? Let's be more active. Why don't we every time? Why doesn't a liaison say, without Seth's hand going up, but 30 seconds. This is what happened. This was the big takeaway that, happened in this committee. It doesn't have to be a like I would bring up this on the waterways. They had an enormous discussion. They're tight on space at Bismore. It's not working. And we've got all legitimate businesses competing there. So what if we
Well, I
could?
guess the other question is how is it that we can have the chair of the committee be able to approach the council? I mean, I don't know if Waterways would even think what you're thinking, to have said, we should go to the council and talk to them about what's going wrong. I mean, is there even a back and
No,
forth?
there isn't.
There's really no forward, backward feed of
No,
information.
But that's the liaison's responsibility, is to have the big picture, the 10,000-foot view, as I always say. I brought this up before when I watched the Housing Committee some years ago. They had an enormous discussion about the second story on the landing. That ship had already sailed away. There was never going to be housing there. But yet here they are having a discussion about the housing at the landing. How can that happen?
But I also think the
You know?
chairs have a lot of information.
Do they?
Well, some chairs, not all, but we have Lindsay.
Where are they getting there?
But what I'm saying is Lindsay Council, just this little information that he gave us, I would say would be hugely helpful to us as a council.
Hugely
So what I'm
helpful
saying
to
is
us.
not every chair, not every committee operates to that level. Let's be
But
realistic.
Let's get
That's
up
why
to
we're
that
here.
level. Let's
But
get
my
that.
point is, is maybe we need to start this more communicative relationship where it's not just the liaison's job, it's also the chair's job to go through the liaison to help disseminate the information, because I am now the liaison to that, and although and I've heard some of the things he said, I mean, his big picture is way more than listening to the 5 meetings that I've listened to since I've been put in, because he has institutional knowledge. So I think it needs to be a little bit more of a sit down between the liaison and the chair, and then formulating a mechanism to get that back to the council at large.
I know we talked about in the rules, the liaison, maybe that needs to be, enhanced a little bit. I don't know.
I think we need to just get out of this cycle of chasing our tail. Not in this conversation, but like as a council.
What do you think, Seth?
You know what I mean?
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm really, really surprised that I missed that rule first. That's one thing I'd like to say. But it's fine, because obviously it's something that we need. People thought that in the past, and that's why we have it. So at least that wasn't coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's, what do they call it? Convergent evolution, when two things in separate areas evolve to be exactly the same.
True.
But anyway, that's beside the point. But I don't know. I think that we need to, first of all, I want to start utilizing that rule.
Absolutely.
We have to get out of the cycle of chasing our own tail as a legislative body in order to be able to get to the point where we're even going to be able to have the discussions about this stuff in public at a meeting.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's all a function, and it may not be for this committee, but it's all a function of our lack of strategy or our strategic plan.
September 11th.
Well, there you go. So it's like I think that once we get to, that's when we're gonna have our meeting, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought you were making a reference
First
to,
of
the
two
failures of
meetings.
American intelligence September 11th. But, no, that's true. But, you know what I mean. I think these are all good ideas, but we need to have, in order to get to that point, I feel like we've just been chasing our tails for the last 2 years. And in order to get out of that cycle of having we gotta do this now, we gotta do this now, we gotta do this now, but be able to really engage people like Lindsay and his committee, we just either need to meet more often as a body, you know what I mean, as a
So
legislative
that,
body, or.
I've had this conversation with President Tamish, and we had a full meeting, and we only have one meeting in July and August. Just got off the budget into this summer meeting schedule. And I'm not the only one who raised with him about meeting more than once in August. And Councilor Tamish said that probably wouldn't be a good idea because people have already made plans for this year, for the summer, where he thinks if that's something we're gonna change, because it's in our rules that we only meet once in July and once in August, that we would have to modify it with a look towards next summer, if that's what we want.
Maybe I'll just write a letter.
Write a letter to whom?
To Craig, and say that we can have 4 people sign it, and then we can have a meeting.
Well, 4 people can call a meeting.
You know what I mean? As simple as that.
And I think the thing is, we don't need to wait for the strategic plan.
Right.
To proactively go
Yeah,
to
to start getting
our
on stuff.
committees that
Right.
we're the liaison to,
Liaison.
have a cup of coffee and say, listen, we've been working on this, but you as the chair, what do you in the next year think we need to think about as a committee? Because, I mean, again, you have a great way of putting all the pieces together, but I not so much. So, I mean, I would appreciate like sitting with Lindsay and him telling me those things and taking some notes and going back to, to your counselors and saying, in the section, saying, listen, I met with the
I would
chair.
love to hear
He
that,
recommends
yes.
these things. What do you all think? And then
Yes.
we'd all say aye.
Every single one of us should say something during that, and not a pancake breakfast, okay?
So I don't think we need to wait. I think we could just work on that.
Yeah, we can do it. I guess we just are so jammed up right now.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
we gotta
with
give
the
ourselves a
size of
breathing
us,
room.
this one meeting in the summer, I don't think look what happened. I
not enough.
mean, and then we voted not to stay past 11, and then we could have stayed for 10 more minutes and done the administrative work. I mean, what would have been the burden there? Now we've got to start over, we ought
Well,
to.
we can suspend the rules.
Well, we also,
Yeah.
Councilor
That's in
Tamish,
town council.
Councilor Tamish and I also suggested that maybe some of these things that are more administrative, like
Suspend the rules.
move to the second reading, put it in the front part of the agenda so it
Yes.
doesn't get truncated. should the meeting drift towards 11 o'clock. And maybe if we're gonna have future executive session, maybe we need to call a separate meeting just for that, so it doesn't
Right,
impact
why
the
not?
public.
Yeah,
Because we had, like Felicia called all those meetings that had to do with or that were workshops, but were public meetings.
Yes.
We need to, and this I guess is not necessarily the committee to talk about or not, but we need to make it work for all of us. We need to get the work done though. This is not something that is like a hobby for me. This is, you know what I mean? This is doing the business of the town and the
Right.
people. And we need, if we filled the continuum with all of this stuff and we're getting to the point where we're getting jammed up and we can't focus on things like the importance of interacting with the Community Preservation Committee in a meaningful way, or the Housing Committee, or whomever, then we need to do something differently. We need to meet more often in order to give ourselves the time and the breathing room and not have me being at 11 o'clock at night saying, why the hell am I still here 6 hours later? You know what I mean? You know what I mean by that?
it's only 5 hours.
Well, 5 hours,
We
but
could start at 5.
we could start earlier. We could meet you could meet every week. Could call a special meeting, because we know, I'll look at this agenda, like last agenda.
No,
This is
that
gonna be
agenda was
unworkable.
unworkable.
Yeah.
It was unworkable.
We need to call a special meeting. Let's just do that. So I think that will allow us, maybe we have all the, seeing that now all of my diatribes about the rule to do that were a waste, but you know what I mean, that we have the tools, but we don't
We
have
have
the
them.
time.
Well, I don't think it's just the time, I think it's the culture.
The
We have to
culture,
have enough
absolutely.
people that actually want to spend the time
Right.
to listen to Lindsay or ask the questions, or, no offense, I've been told multiple times from other counselors that I should stop asking questions and I should show up prepared to raise my hand. And to be honest, I find that offensive, because people out there deserve to know what we're thinking in here,
I
and
think so too.
and we should be asking those questions, because if not, you could just have anybody come here and say yes. So I think, you know what, I'm not saying we need to make every meeting 25 hours long, but on the same hand, the culture of this council is uninterested. Some of us are uninterested in actually doing anything more than saying yes or no. And that's just my personal feeling.
I
And
agree with you. I
Yeah.
think that's a culture, and it's a bad one.
Yeah.
so, and I think it's
Sure.
starting to change, and I think that change is uncomfortable, and I think it's clunky, because you have a certain group of people wanting to be more engaged, and then you have a certain group of people that are like, we just want to be done with this and just be quiet and shut up and raise your hand. So you put those two things together, and it's gonna be kind of ugly, and it's gonna be clunky, and I think that's what we're at, so.
Can I just ask a quick question, since I put the agenda together? If you guys want to add more meetings, just keep in mind that I'll need additional days for advertising. You know, if you're putting anything on there that the public needs to know about, putting another meeting on kind of crams my advertising ability with the Cape Cod Times, since they're in Texas now.
Oh, that's right.
No, I realize that, and I realize you all had to post all those items that were posted for the last
I had to
meeting.
re-advertise, which
Re-advertise
is
and the cost,
costly, yeah.
That's the way she goes sometimes. Nothing's ever perfect.
Well, we talked, like I said, about rearranging the agenda so that we can try to strategically avoid that problem.
Well, and again, we have to have the tenacity to do the work as it's proposed in front of us, because
Yes, I understand.
it's gonna get done. If it's not done this week, it's gonna be done
It's
2 weeks
gonna
from now.
get
It's not
done.
like it goes away, so I mean, we're only putting off the inevitable, and then we're making it more work, and everyone's always on about the staffing, and be nice to the staff and appreciate their time. Well, we certainly didn't appreciate Cindy's time or the budgetary, end result of that when we decided to leave at 11 o'clock, when we
Yeah.
had things that we probably could have finished. So I think we have to be, again, a little more
Right.
devoted to the cause and a little more holistic and a little more forward thinking. Yeah, it was great to get out 11, but guess what?
That's
We're
what
just
now.
gonna have to do it anyway, so.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, I understand that. I still think that from the perspective of for the public, for the staff, for the appellants, the people at the meetings, it's still unreasonable to ask people to sit there for 6 hours or more into 11 o'clock at night. Especially, everybody works. Me, I work, not everybody on the council works. if you can't do it in 5 hours, you should have 2 meetings. You know?
I hear you, and like I
I mean,
said,
every week, no offense, Seth, every week, having a meeting every week, I mean, I also run a business and
Right.
I have to go to work at 7 in the morning the next day and I've got 20 patients on my caseload. It doesn't change, I do
Yeah.
that every week, so whether I'm gonna be tired twice a month or 4 times a month, to be honest.
You know, maybe we
I'll
need to
take
look
4
at
times.
another
And
meeting.
we ask
especially-
people, we ask people to come because that's what the cost of doing business is, and so what they have to give up a night, I'm sorry, they have to
I
give
can
up a night.
understand, I mean, I understand that. This is-
I just-
I see what you're saying, and I don't
I
disagree,
don't know.
but I, you know,
I hear you, we discussed, Council President Tamish and I discussed this, 2 strategies that we could consider, like I said, front load anything that just is gonna be a second read, so we don't lose that opportunity to hear it as it was advertised. And secondly, if there are executive sessions, that we do so on a separate meeting, so it doesn't front load a meeting that starts now that started at 6, and then we come into this
Yeah.
room for our executive session and show up at 7:30 or 8 o'clock to resume the meeting. So those are 2 strategies that we already discussed. If you have other suggestions, send them along, because
I think the first read thing, that seems like a no-brainer, that should have been,
That should have-
somebody should have been sounding the alarm last meeting and saying,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, whoa. we
Craig
gotta-
tried.
We need 10 minutes, not even.
We need 10 minutes, yeah.
But I hear you. So I'm
Yeah.
saying we're open to other suggestions, help us be better. But we've had this backlog due to the budget, and actually the budget ran pretty smoothly. I've been to a counselor where we've had to double up on meetings in June to get the budget done before the end of June. So that didn't happen, but if we have to double up in July and August next year, that might be something worth considering. But we can suspend the rules to do that. We don't have to change the rules.
Right.
just meet when we need to meet, get the work done, get done. Give us more time to interact with everything, communities with these people, and all their talented stuff. On another unanticipated, unless somebody else has something to say on that.
No.
Did you guys watch the Human Services Committee meeting? You were there.
Yes,
Yes, I did.
What did you think of that? I didn't like that at all. The
I
town.
think it was uncomfortable.
Yeah,
We have one of the
Council President
participants
and
here.
and the legal department's aware of it.
all right. Because, that committee is something that we're reviewing right now.
We are
I
reviewing
watched their
that.
last couple of meetings and I didn't think that they got the gist of it.
It's troubling, it's troubling.
So,
I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt. I thought they understood, especially you had quite the engagement with them and quite the tasking for them. I thought there was a significant amount of clarity in what you would ask them to come forward and you would
Right.
champion them.
But I didn't see any of that coming around in the last, since we've had that
Yeah,
conversation.
no,
And I
it
didn't like the town.
was uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable.
Did you guys, you saw,
Yes,
you
I
said you
watched
watched. So I just wanted to put that on the record,
Thank you for
just
doing
for
that.
those.
And I think we have to be open about this. These represent the town, these committees. They ought to be professional.
Absolutely, it doesn't give me a lot of, it
Which is
doesn't,
why we spoke to them at length.
Right.
And
So-
they're one of the ones that don't have any staff, they don't plug in anywhere. And that may be part of the issue that they're kind of floating around a little bit.
Well, and I think the thing that you guys have been saying is like, because there's not a real connection of some of the committees to our council, they kind of operate in their own, and you know what, when you
That's
operate
not
on your
good.
own, representing 13 precincts, it's a little bit, it's dangerous, and I
Yes.
think we saw evidence of that. I thought it was really inappropriate when it went on at that meeting. And I am speechless. Other than I didn't think it was
You
appropriate.
want to weigh in on it?
No.
A little late watching.
I think that, yeah, I've watched it.
Oh.
I don't wanna comment on like particulars. I think you're right, I think this is an appropriate place to just in general talk about what can be done to fix or
Better
help the
guidance.
committees out so that, situations like that don't occur.
But I do
I will
believe,
say, I mean, and Larry was in that committee, he brought up training. That's something that I do think is lacking. Chris, you've brought it up, the training for us. It is lacking in the town. And I think that was in really broad view for anyone
I
who
think-
watched that video.
I think,
I
and I
mean,
think
people don't, I think, set out to do things that are renegade and rogue. I think if they had proper training, I don't know. I mean, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but without proper training, these kind of things derail very quickly.
I think we talked a lot about this in our first couple of meetings, but training just in terms of being a committee member or board member, and then open meeting law, public records law,
John, you talked about.
all of those types of things where, and this goes along with
Yeah.
like the ethics training as well, those are just things that if they're not aware, or if there maybe is some forgetfulness on those topics, they need a refresher, they don't realize that they're doing something wrong, or, you know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that I agree, I think that's entirely appropriate discussion for this committee.
Can we put our just have an old, agenda item, Human Services Committee on the next meeting?
Sure.
Because this is unanticipated, I just, like I
Yeah,
said,
I mean, they, based on the guidance they got when they came to us, September, they're supposed to have their proposal.
and we'll be coming right up on it.
Yeah.
We haven't made an official, we
what
haven't made an official recommendation.
would you like to cover that hasn't been covered?
Just leave it vague, so we can just discuss it, see where we are. Because we didn't make a recommendation one way or the other.
No, I know, I thought we were gonna wait for that
For them to
to
come
come
forward.
forward.
Right. Or so maybe we should push it to September.
Yeah,
September,
that's
I
what I'm
think,
thinking.
Just because I want, you know what I mean, I just
You
want
don't
to have
want
it
it to
on
get
there.
lost, is what
Yes.
I understand.
I think it's important to the training piece, talk about strategies or ways that we can, I know ways that can work out better.
Yeah.
So that is one topic, but also in general, and I think you were sort of speaking about this last time, is that you have to pick out those committees.
Right.
Human Services is just one, where there's a concern as to whether or not they're functioning properly or they need new training. And I think training across the board is important.
Across the board.
I don't think it's necessarily a great idea. It just so happens that this meeting took place while the ad hoc is meeting. So
leave it
I
alone,
think
you think?
no, I wouldn't say leave it alone. I think you want to treat it more as like a blanket, like
Right, I know what you're
all
saying.
of these committees need this training. All of these committees we need to understand what they're doing and what their plan is. It's inevitably up to you, but that's just my thought
I know
about
what
it.
you mean,
Yeah.
sure.
It is my understanding that there's an effort being made to update the committee handbook.
Yeah.
So is that spearheaded by legal? Or
It's
planning?
I think, was it
This
Karen
committee?
and, it was Karen with someone else.
We didn't have anything to do with it.
No, so I wanna say Karen was either was working with Jim on it or with, I don't know why I wanna say Bill Cole, but either way, I know she was working with it.
Maybe we should
Someone
put
else
that
on
the
it?
next agenda too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly
Be nice to
like
get an
ask
update
for an
on that.
update
Update,
from
That's a good idea.
Attorney Nober on the handbook, where that's at. Because, I mean, unless, she could always come in too, depending on what her
Or give
schedule
Bill
looks
Cole
like.
come, if he's the human resources guy.
Yeah, I wanna say it was Bill, but I wanna double check on that.
I think the last iteration was spearheaded by Elizabeth Jenkins when she was director of planning.
Maybe, so then maybe it is Jim.
I think.
Right, well, I
But
can
it
ask-
happened within staff, not within
No, yeah,
within.
but I know Karen was the main person working on that. It just,
So that's definitely something we should
Yeah, fresh
get a
and
handle on.
and I think a few meetings back, we talked about, was it the Inspector General's website or something like that, just like having links available
Sure,
for the
yes.
ethics stuff, just in that handbook so that people have those resources to go to. So I think that those suggestions I passed along to Karen and I can certainly remind her of those, but I just don't know where that stands. But I can get an update,
and maybe MMA has suggestions.
I'm sure.
Can I ask the group an opinion question? Just thinking about this kind of mechanism that we could create a more cohesive relationship with our committees. if you as the liaison sat with your committee chair and your committee chair said, these are the things we really need the council to think about or, take on, or we think that this would be a good use of our resources, we could, some of the things Lindsay was saying,
Yeah.
would you want to give that report yourself, or would you want to invite the chair to the meeting and under that section ask that chair to come up and give a 1-minute explanation about what they're looking for?
I would say yes, kind of like I think both should speak. I think bringing the chairs to the council meetings would be good, I think.
It's been done in the past, so.
And I'm not
It
saying,
doesn't have
I'm
to
not
be a
saying in
really-
a planned way, I'm
Yeah.
just saying if something
Yeah,
comes, like whoever the waterways liaison is, and they think that they have some guidance where they think, we have this problem. I know the council's thinking about Baxter's, we think we could, maybe
yeah, I'd like to
have
bring
a
that to the
plan.
agenda
Yeah,
to get us
the
all to vote
question is,
on
would
it.
you wanna invite the waterways person to the meeting so that under that section they could speak, or
Yes.
would just the waterways person wanna speak? So I'm
I
just
think
putting that
more-
out there.
I like it. I mean, again, we should be really open and transparent and talking about this and getting people engaged. It shouldn't be behind the closed doors.
No, I just didn't know if
Yeah. No, I
having
like-
the
I really
chair
like that.
come on the day that you think you wanna
That
bring
you wanna
something
talk
Isn't that
forward.
what Jessica used to do?
Yes,
Which
But
is
that was
bring-
more
That's
of a
what Jessica-
prescribed,
Yeah.
yeah,
she
so
used
in
to do it
alphabetical.
anyways,
Very
I'm talking about
prescribed.
just a random, like,
Yeah.
it's
I know what you
March 31st and
Yeah.
something important has come up, rather
I
than
do want
waiting
to
for
bring
the-
that forward. I want to bring it forward as according to that rule and have us all vote that the Waterways Committee be tasked to help us make a decision to say, what if you had Baxter's? What could you do with the harbor then?
So I'm thinking maybe you wanna invite the waterways
Yes.
chair to that meeting, because then they have some knowledge they might wanna share so that you get enough people to say, yeah, that sounds like.
And that's not like a measure, right? I mean, like, you could bring that.
Referral?
Yeah.
No,
Just
the
bring it
rule
up in
just
the,
says.
in the meeting and say, I move to refer this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it says matters properly before the council, so I think it does need to be on the agenda. So whether you're putting it on the agenda with full knowledge that you plan to vote on a referral, or it comes up, I know I keep using this example, but the marijuana overlay district, it comes up on the agenda and the
And I
moment.
could have then said, I would like to refer
Right,
this
and I
to
think
so-and-so.
it all comes down to planning. You're looking at the agenda and you're thinking, oh, I think that some more information on this from another committee. I think, and I'm not a council member, I never have been a council member, but I imagine in the moment, those things sometimes don't just pop up in your head,
Right,
and hindsight's 20/20, but if
So
you're
can
talking, if you're reading through
you give
it.
us the legal guidance, say, we know we wanna have this waterways, Betty is thinking this waterways, it's not on the agenda, it's not on anybody's radar, but Betty is so forward thinking, she's putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and she says, I want us to consider as a council how this might interplay, because we have this thing in our future that we don't know when that is.
Yeah.
How would you want us to legally have that, because there's a section for information from boards, committees, and commissions. Do we need to actually say anything more, or could we just, at the meeting, Betty raises her hand and says, I have an issue, I was at the waterways meeting, blah, 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 and I'd like the council to consider referring that to the waterways.
Cite the town council rule and say what the issue is
Yeah.
and.
Because I think for it to be properly on the agenda,
But does
as
it
a
need to be?
liaison-
Does it need to
well,
be?
it does according to the
Oh, according to the
rule.
rule.
The language in the rule specifically says,
matters before the council.
when a matter properly before the council relates to a subject, so
Yeah, but
If
a
you're bringing
matter
it up-
properly before the council is, I properly am bringing this before the council, and the
yeah, I
matter
mean, I
is
wonder
this.
as
Because
on the agenda.
I don't want us to get the Baxter's thing, the town did this $160,000 thing and we're there at the meeting, it's like, wait, could we get the Waterways Committee? I mean,
Yeah, but the
we should
point-
be forward thinking.
The point is if we're actually engaged with our committees and we're seeing things,
We're
like
seeing
Lindsay
things.
is saying this to us now.
Well, that's what I saw at
Then
the
we ought to
Waterways,
bring
it's
it
an
forward.
enormous
I guess I need to
discussion.
understand the mechanism that we could do that. Because
Yeah.
there's a section about information from boards, committees, and commissions. It seems like that we would just be able to say, I'm the liaison to the CPC and da-da-da-da-da. I'm the, I don't know who the waterways liaison.
Paul Neary.
Paul Neary.
You know, so I guess I'm just wondering, it doesn't seem like we need an agenda item. I mean, this whole like noticing every little thing on the agenda is hamstringing us to only talk about the agenda. It's another way in which we actually don't communicate about what's going on in
So do
the
we need
town.
to
And
add
it's
a
a way to
rule?
limit conversation, and it's hamstringing us.
Well, I think on the agenda, it says, to your point, you know, information from boards, committees, commissions, and if the liaison comes up or brings it up and says, there's an issue before a waterways committee that I think might, you know, be helped out by going to another, so I don't see why you wouldn't be able to then move. I
On the other
think it's on the agenda as the very broad item of information from boards, committees, commissions.
Okay.
So if that information comes up under that agenda item, then I think that it would be properly before the council, and I think it's fully appropriate for the liaison to say, I'd like to move to refer this issue that the Waterways Committee is working on to, where did you say that you wanted to send it to?
Waterways.
Waterways.
The Baxter.
Baxter.
The Baxter's thing,
To
it's
have
in the
them-
future, but we need information done now,
For their
so when it
evaluation.
comes back to us, that information is already available.
Well, it would be what, an appropriation coming back to us?
No, it's
No.
just the waterways to sit,
Evaluate
have a
the
discussion.
waterways
based
talking
on-
about.
No, I'm talking about the item that will come back as far as Baxter's is concerned.
I think it does come back as an
It'll come back to
appropriation,
us
doesn't
with
it?
a report from the town staff after they've done their due diligence with this evaluation. But the difference from what Councillor Lutke was just saying is that if Councillor Lutke wanted to refer this to Waterways, she's not the liaison to Waterways. Councillor Neary is.
Yeah, and I think just
Any
bringing
councillor
up.
can do it.
Yeah, any
No,
council.
I don't know, I think just bringing up Baxter's, like random, like,
You'd have to cite the thing, right?
yeah, there's
Item.
nothing, I think you're kind of bringing up an idea, I think,
Okay, that's what I'm asking you. I wanna
Yeah.
know, how do we legally, as counselors, who are seeing this thing over here and that thing over here and this thing over here, and we're putting the pieces together and like a light bulb goes off and you're like, this is a really great idea. We should think about having this amazing committee that's supposed to be helping us doing some work, and we'd like to task the Waterways Committee with doing that. You council, what do you all think? How do we get that
How do we make that?
conversation? And
An
it
agenda
seems
item.
like
I
under
guess you
the
have to
board
do an
committee,
agenda item.
it seems like under the boards, committees, commission, if the president said, are there any items from the boards, committees, or commissions that anybody would be able to say, I actually think that, you know, I'm CPC and I think that we need to think comprehensively about, you know, our plans for parks and recreation, and we might wanna consider a consultant, and Mr. Council's here to help explain that.
I've
Can
got
we
an idea.
refer that back to the CPC, or could we, planning, or whomever?
Well, I've got an idea. How about if once the evaluation, I guess I'm hearing that that evaluation is coming to some kind of a closure, maybe by September, that we invite the Waterways Committee to that agenda item and ask them to weigh in on it?
But why would we
During
wait?
discussion.
We have this idea now, we should not wait.
'Cause
We
the
should-
evaluation's not done yet.
That's
Well,
reactive,
but
the
no,
evaluation
they
is,
need to
they're
do
gonna-
it now, so
they're
it's
gonna tell us
part
that it
of.
needs new seawalls and new decking and new this and new that. None of that has anything to do with determining if that piece of land would fit into the problem they're having. What Betty's asking is, could we have a brainstorming session and think about it? That's over and above the evaluation of the property, because the evaluation of the property is just
Right.
what
Yeah,
are
it's
components?
I see, yeah, I see
You know,
what you're
so
saying.
it's
How
like-
does it fit
and
into
it
the
should be
harbor?
done
How does the
now.
harbor now function?
There is a
Because if
harbor.
you listen to this discussion of the waterways, you'd say we're doomed.
Yeah,
We
I
don't have
attended the
room.
same meeting, but I left the meeting after the issue that we
Yeah.
were there, and Betty
It was a
stayed for
very
the-
good
and she
discussion.
says, you missed this big thing, and I was just like,
But that's the thing, so it
it
happens
wasn't
in a
on the
committee,
agenda,
big
was it?
things that could
Yes,
happen
it
in a
was,
committee and none of us are aware,
Yeah.
'cause we can't possibly watch every meeting, we can't attend
We
every
can't.
meeting. And Betty has a great idea.
Ask the committee to take a
It's
look
good
at
if
it.
Betty has it, but it's even better if we all know about it.
yeah, yeah.
It's not a
No, I agree.
violation of the.
What's
law.
what's the mechanism, the surefire
Yeah,
mechanism
Betty
for
can
getting
go
something
call
on
and
the
say,
agenda?
"Oh, can
Because
you
there's,
go
if
take a
I,
look at it?"
Come into the agenda setting.
but you
next
can, there
week.
is like a way through the code
Is there?
in the charter
Do you
for
know,
us to
Chris?
put something on the agenda without having Craig or Chris say,
I think
okay,
it
I'll put
says
it
like
on. Isn't it
any
like one
resident or
person
counselor
plus, yeah,
can ask to have an agenda item considered.
lawyer
I
time?
think I read that.
What is the mechanism in the code or the charter for an agenda item that isn't by the chair? So, cause I can sponsor my own item and have how many other people sign it to make sure it appears on the agenda?
I'd have to look at it. I mean, I can bring it up now or we can wait, but.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I think isn't it like 2 signatures or 3 of the counselors to
I
put
know,
something
but
on the
I think the
agenda?
whole point would be,
Is
the
it?
whole,
No, I
I think the
think
whole point would be,
Well, no,
a
agenda,
good
to get an
idea.
agenda item
Right.
on there is
Why
very
can't you just say it to all
Why
13 of
can't you
us and we
say
just
it?
raise our hand and I say, I agree with you, Seth?
Right.
I guess you could.
Or
Maybe you'd have to
leadership agrees with you and 10 of us don't agree with you. They could still say they wanna do it.
I would say the easiest way is to call the president, unless you get an answer you don't like.
There you go, and then you still have a mechanism to do it.
So
I mean, that's
just
what I
going
mean.
back to town council rules before we go to the charter or anything. So Rule 5E, agenda setting, the council president, after consultation with the sponsoring counselor and town manager, shall determine placement of business on council meeting agenda or other appropriate disposition. The council president shall set deadlines for the submission of agenda items by other councilors, by the town manager, by town staff through the town manager, with the goal of posting the agenda for Thursday. A consent agenda may be used to approve a grouping of agenda items with one vote, no discussion.
These are the brand new rules that we just
Yeah,
voted
but
on.
but what we're talking,
I
what,
just wanna
There
know,
is a
like,
mechanism
Betty has a
for
great
putting
idea.
one on.
How do we get that forward? How do we make it a reality?
We should have, there should
It's
be
easy
a
to call
new
Craig.
agenda.
A new ad
on
hoc
there,
committee
like,
group?
wild ideas.
You're all
I
over
think,
it.
I think with this,
You and Betty,
that's not
it's a
working.
two-person
No,
group.
but no, seriously, like you said,
To get items
we don't
on
all
the
have
agenda
time to
rather
watch all the
than-
meetings.
No, I know,
But if
that's the whole
someone happens to
point.
watch a meeting and say, hey, wait a second,
Doesn't know about
something happened at this meeting that's really pertinent.
That's
It
the whole
might-
point, Betty. That's
is
what
the
you
whole
two have been
point.
saying.
Yeah.
for
If
the
you
last-
sat there and watched all the videos or tried to go to the, you wouldn't do it, you'd have no other life. I mean, you
I've
couldn't.
quit my job, you didn't know.
Yeah,
I'm officially unemployed. I'm living off
Yay.
$8,000 a year.
yeah.
I rode my bike here today. I
It
can't
does
afford
say in the
gas.
code, process for submittal to the town council, all petitions for special legislation, to the general court by any officer, official, or employee of the town shall first be submitted to the town manager and town attorney for
just
their
want-
review.
That's only about legislation though.
We just
Yeah.
want common sense,
Yeah.
like
There is a
moving our
mechanism
town
for
forward
doing it.
and
I've
using
read
our
it.
communities.
You don't have to look at it
Seems
now,
like-
I'm just saying, it was just for the sake of argument, that
So the idea is either get it on the agenda, however you do it, either it's agreed upon at the agenda setting meetings, or if the code offers something which you clearly,
I
you
think
feel
it
pretty
does.
confident that, so I can look at that, but so for this particular issue though, so you just want the Waterways Committee to take into consideration the study on Baxter's and
I want
acquiring
them to
that.
look at it comprehensively. What if
Yeah.
you had both Bismore and Baxter's? What could you do?
Because to me, that's not so much a referral of an issue as it is like a suggestion that they should take that into consideration. You know what I mean? Like, where are we drawing the line of like a
That's the
referral?
whole point of what you've been saying
Yes.
though, is that they're operating under their own guise. We over here are operating under ours, and we think that there might be some value to giving input to the committee, and we need a mechanism to have that conversation, and it seems like we as a council could say, you know what, Betty? That sounds like a really good idea. It would be interesting if the Waterways could take a meeting to just discuss and
Right.
come back to the council and let us know what they think, because they might come back and say, it doesn't solve any problems. It actually creates more problems than it solves. Or they come back and they say, that would be the best thing ever.
Alright, so you essentially wanna refer the issue of the harbor and what Baxter's, acquiring the property at Baxter's, how it would or would not affect the
Be good or
harbor.
bad,
Yeah.
pros
And you
and
want them to
cons.
kind of
Yes.
Evaluate it.
Evaluate it.
So
So
like-
yeah, so I again, I think, well, so I guess one thought would be someone contact Counselor Neary and ask that he bring it up during that time. Another would be to put it on the agenda. And I think that I need to kind of think about and talk through what is covered under that agenda item. Does the liaison have to bring it up? can Counselor
I don't see
Lucky
why
just
the
say,
liaison would have to.
yeah, can Counselor Lucky just say, I watched the Waterways Committee meeting, they're talking about this, and I think that they should take this into consideration as well, so I wanna move to refer the issue of Baxter's or whatever to, you know, so I think, I agree, I don't see why that couldn't be covered under that agenda item.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with the CFAC thing, kind of in this committee, it was
yeah.
like you discussed it and it's happening. I mean, that didn't happen in town council, but we're not gonna have this committee all the time to be making suggestions, so
Right.
we need to find a way to make what you are all talking about a reality. How do we make our committees more helpful to us when we have a
Permanent
concept that we
standing
think?
committee on.
Because we don't have standing committees of counselors like most cities our size, we don't have them.
Yeah, I mean, the language under communications it's so
Vague.
broad, like communications from elected officials, boards, committees, and staff.
You can communicate, you're an elected official, you got it.
And then would you like cite, say with Baxter's, would you cite because we voted on that. All that was an executive session, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
No,
We
we
voted
did it in
out
public,
there.
and so there'd be an item number associated with it. So then would you say, you know, I would like to recommend that the council refer item number, whatever, to the Waterways Committee.
I don't think it has to be an item number, I think you
No,
can just
just
say,
be-
listen, I watched the waterways and you know what, they
Just
look
keep
like
it.
they're having some trouble down at Bismarck Park. You know, we've considered that, we're considering buying Baxter's, maybe we should have the waterways give us a one-page document on what they think if we were to buy this property, pros and cons.
That's
Sounds good.
right there, that's
Like,
it,
that's
yeah.
not that hard.
Okay, so really the question is, can any counselor, under the communications item, refer things to committees?
And maybe the
Yeah.
committee says, no, we don't wanna do it, or no, we can't do it, or hell yeah, we can. I mean, maybe they, you know, I mean, I don't really know, I have never been to waterways.
Yeah, I'm gonna run the idea by.
But I mean, you guys mentioned that about CFAC and they're meeting with them.
Yeah,
So
they're meeting with them
obviously that
tonight,
was a good
yeah.
idea, right?
And that was through the old antiquated mechanism.
That was the
or mechanism that I didn't appreciate, or I do
Right.
appreciate, but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
that I think is not a surefire way to get stuff done. Which was, then he tells Chris and Craig, and then they tell them, and then they do it.
Yeah, you could have somebody could have just brought it up at the meeting and said, you know what, I think it'd be a really good idea if we ask CFAC if they're willing, maybe they could just look at the numbers and tell us the blah, blah,
Right,
blah.
and then we vote, and then it goes,
Yeah,
and that's it.
Seems like kind of a just,
Another thing I'm wondering is like, what if you had someone from the Waterways Committee come in at public comment and say, you know, we have this thing that we're doing, and then in response, I'm just like brainstorming, in another item on the agenda, council response to public comment, why couldn't you just say, I like that idea,
Right.
let's refer that to Waterways? I don't know.
yeah, you could do
Yeah.
that too,
I
but
think
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think there's probably many different ways you
Yeah.
could do it and have it be legally acceptable.
Because,
for the-
again, I mean, I know we're
meeting law.
I know we're trying to figure out what the meaning behind like properly before the council, but it just seems very broad.
It seems like it's
And
already before the
flexible.
council.
Yeah, it seems flexible, the language.
We need to properly bring this before the council, do you all agree with it or not? And now it's proper and we voted on it, and it sounds like.
No, I hear you.
Well, there you go.
All right, well, I'll report back on that issue then.
Good idea, that's more information.
yeah.
And I
That
think
was-
somebody else said, I don't know, I might have just been dreaming this, that when, I would like to recommend that when a committee does not support an item, that they reference every meeting that it was
Yes,
discussed at.
absolutely.
So that we don't have to go through like a needle in a haystack and we don't have to ask Cindy or some other person.
Right.
And that they give us a one-page document why they don't support it.
Well, that was
Because you know what, to
classic
just
was the
send me a piece of
marijuana, with
paper,
the planning board not, and
some-
nobody knew.
Yeah.
And then we're listening to the proponent, we're listening to other people, we should have it in front of
Well,
us.
to send a one-page piece of
Yeah.
paper, I mean, I opened up the supporting documentation and said, we don't support it. I'm like, well, that was useless. And then I did ask President Tamish about getting a one-page document when they support it. He goes, well, I think when they support it, what's there to know? I'm like, no, I still think
I still
we
think,
support it for these
for
reasons.
these reasons.
It fits the criteria, it enhances the strategic plan, it's
Right.
well thought out.
Well,
I
and
mean,
we could say, yeah, on the
I-
flip side, the
tell us why.
regulatory agreement that's before us, that housing's supported, right? Why?
So there you go. Now, again, at the risk of looking stupid, so in the rules, should there be, and I realize we just went through the whole rules thing, but maybe, you can't think of everything.
can't let it go,
obviously.
can you?
No, I won't. But should there be a more clear, because I like to have things be codified so that there's no questions, that what a referral is
What
and what
is, yeah.
what the product of a referral is. Like, you know what I mean, that you'd say, is it within a reasonable
To your
time
point,
frame?
yeah. It would be nice to clarify.
Because this was a
With the
a
chair
short
and the
turnaround,
liaison to figure out.
tight turnaround.
But, try to at least have, say, within a reasonable time frame shall produce a document or
Yeah.
a recommendation with
So I mean,
explanatory
we could
points.
probably,
Well, how about we say, and the referral will include the town council liaison and the town councilor who recommended the referral, because Betty could then sit with the chairperson and with the liaison to really suss out what it is, because one of the things that the complaint about, what was the thing, I can't remember, it was we had something going on, and you wanted to know something, and everyone's like, but we don't know really what she's thinking. It was almost like your thought was it's like they didn't have enough parameters to know what it was you wanted to have the detail on, I can't remember, it was something.
You mean the request wasn't defined more specifically?
Moratorium.
Oh, yeah, the moratorium.
That's a really broad word, moratorium on what, for who, for who, for when, and the comment was, we don't have enough parameters to really know what
to
it
define.
was to answer the question, which is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, that was,
So-
the moratorium
So it
on
would
the
be
downtown
helpful
zoning.
if we refer something that
Yeah.
the person referring it sits with the people that will be
Right.
involved and said, this is what I'm thinking. It helps develop the product, because if not, they're could be running off doing that thing over there, and then you're like,
Yeah.
no, I wanted you to go over there and figure it out, like, you know what I'm saying?
so I'm just I'm reviewing, Masons. Motion to refer or commit, purpose of reference to committee. The purpose of referring a question to committee may be to secure a more thorough study of the question than the time of the larger organization would permit, to secure an investigation or to give time and opportunity to conduct an investigation, to secure privacy for the consideration of a delicate question, to give a better opportunity for persons to appear either for or against the matter, to permit more informal consideration, to revise or redraft a proposal or report, to keep the consideration more completely within the control of a particular group, to delay consideration or to prevent action on the question. That's interesting.
Prevent action on the question would.
Or to delay action.
Delay, to send it away to die in a committee.
But I mean, I think mostly
Sounds
what
like
you're,
fun.
looking to do is to secure a more thorough study of the
yes.
question than the time of the larger organization would permit, which is exactly what we talked about last time, which is like, maybe this will save you all some time. So that's what at least Mason says about what a
We could insert a definition
referral is.
of referral into the rule in order to make it more clear that.
Well, it's
what the
defined in
referral
Mason's.
is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
We
mean,
don't need
But
it.
still, then
We don't-
everyone's like, oh, let me get out my Masons and see what referral.
But she has a
is.
bookmark, she's gonna put her
I'm gonna
post-it
flag
note.
it. I just got this today, I'm very excited.
Right, first post-it note, that was not a wasted investment.
No.
And Karen's copy has how
Well,
many?
Yeah, million.
That's the thing, and so, this is so off topic, but yes, today I got to my desk, it was on my desk, and I'm very excited, because I will be marking it up for my
It
own.
came in handy.
Yes, see?
But we could come up with something, I mean, we could refine it further insofar as that, what exactly the referral, what the expectation of the referral is. Whether it be a time frame, relative to time frame, or relative to a product at the end of the referral period. So that you have a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think within your motion to refer something.
Yeah, that will all be.
You move to refer it, and then maybe you even add some conditions.
some
I'd like to refer it and get a report back in a month.
Yeah, that sounds good too.
The problem with something like that is these committees meet once a month.
Sure,
Or
so
maybe
I mean, a month
Yeah,
might
she's
not
not
be
saying-
reasonable, but.
No, I know, I'm just saying that we'd have to just consider that.
Yeah,
If
so,
they had
so,
just met the night before, they're not gonna meet for virtually.
yeah, so maybe you say something like, we'd like a report after there's, next 3 meetings or something like that.
I just wanna be a big jerk. Say, you better have a special meeting, cause I want
Yeah.
No, that sounds like a good idea, a good option. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Good idea.
Well, we'll have to work that into our recommendation. all the stuff you're.
I think Allison's gonna get back to us for next month.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure, or just get some opinions from Karen and Tom essentially, on, what we think can come up under the communications agenda item. I think it would be reasonable, I
Yeah.
just wanna get second and third opinion.
Sounds good.
And if not, how else can we do it, other than
Options.
an agenda item, like getting an agenda item on?
And not another workshop, please. We just need
No, I
an
don't-
opportunity to discuss. We don't need a workshop everything. We don't need a bunch of talking heads telling us everything. We need an engagement. not a
Engagement, that's what's key,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Really,
talking
you want
heads,
to
Keep
workshop.
everybody engaged, yes.
You want a study, a report, something like that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying, I don't want somebody to come and workshop the
Right.
idea and talk at my face so that I can then say, well, that's great. I'm still no further forward. I
Right.
might have information, but I still don't, no one's asked me the question or given me the answer. They've just told me what they already know.
So I think based on the idea that you want more thorough reports or decisions when items are in front of you.
Yes, absolutely.
We talked about that last time too, that and then trying to utilize the referrals more will save you all time.
And
It
it'll
still
make
is
the
within the
committees
parameters of that
more
house.
useful. It'll make the committees an
Yes.
actual engagement of the council.
I think that'd be, how do I wanna say? It would be well received if they were tasked with helping the council come to it.
Absolutely,
And if they can't
they'd
do
be
it,
more
obviously they'll
engaged in the
tell us.
decisions of the town,
And they won't go off
We're
topic.
showing by example that they're valued.
yes. And in this handbook, we're gonna get an update in this handbook, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have that
thank
on
you.
my note too.
It's the status
Kristen
of
and
it.
Seth are saying, and come up with a page.
Yeah.
We need this, this, maybe it doesn't apply to everything, but these are the rationale we need to see. Make it straightforward, have an example in there.
Sounds good to me.
And for John's next item about, I think we should bring in the heavy hitters. I mean, you guys say that, regulatory is regulatory, but I'm the liaison for the ZBA, and they have plenty of stuff that they struggle with. I mean, they did end up in land court, okay? And swimming pools are very problematic. I mean, you maybe laugh at that, but, and then they have a lot of outdated things like for, horse harness makers and stuff like that. So they deal with a lot of stuff, and like this Wilkins thing, they're on their third meeting, because they're like in their sword fight, because they're the only ones that, are working, and that's why I came up with this CFAC. Let's get some help for these guys.
Cause they have to give a special permit.
Yes, they have to give a special
that's-
permit, so, and the planning, I would like to see zoning and planning. I mean, we keep getting these regulatory agreements, not that we keep, but the last one that planning sent, the council voted no. And the latest one, my sense is, a lot of folks aren't too happy with it. So I think we need to talk to those, that'd be my recommendation, zoning
Fine with
and
me.
planning.
I don't mind, for my
I think
part.
that'd be fine, I think planning, like they're coming back with the HPP, it'd be nice to know, update on that.
I don't think we should meet with both of them at the same meeting. I think
It'll be too long.
each one is gonna be,
When is the HPP gonna go back on the,
I don't know, I'll check on that.
they're not done with it, or they've sent it over, or what?
Wouldn't it come back on the agenda to go back to housing first?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we see that go back to housing before it comes back to
Okay.
us? I don't know, I'm just
I don't
thinking
either.
that's how it originally was, so I would think that that's how it will go, but
Okay.
I could be wrong about that.
What, so you think either zoning or planning? Just
What would you
one
guys
zoning.
like?
Your call,
Zoning.
whichever you prefer.
Zoning, okay, I'm with you. So we invite zoning for next meeting.
Great.
And
Unless
we
they
got,
can't.
who do we get from zoning? We get,
Unless they can't.
Yeah, unless they can't come.
Robichaud, is he the,
Yeah.
Okay, what's your?
Yeah, if you can't get one, get the other.
ZBA is Robichaud?
It's,
No,
it's Jake Dewey
Jake
Jake
Dewey.
Dewey.
Sign,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
that's right.
and Jim Kaufner.
Okay, I'll do that for next meeting. And that's enough for the time that we.
Are we gonna meet frequently? I mean, we're gonna go another 2 weeks
Yeah,
and
that's
meet,
what
I
I usually
mean,
do, I go through the department,
We can,
then leave it up to them on who
we
they.
can, do you have one for the 18th?
Excuse me, can I ask a different question? Did we get a consensus on when counselors are available for the second strategic planning session in October?
No,
Okay,
not yet,
have you had respondents?
a couple, but that's it.
Can you send a reminder and then let's just book
Certainly.
whatever is the best before we book other things?
Sure.
Or make sure that, because that involves a consultant.
Okay, all right, I'll send it out
Please.
when I leave this afternoon, before I leave this afternoon.
So is this room open 2 weeks from now? On the 18th at 3? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking.
I think that would work.
The 18th is, they have a CPC is at 5:30, I don't know if anybody,
Allison can't do that day.
we can't do the 18th, okay, never mind.
How about the 19th? Tuesday.
I'm also off that day,
Oh,
but
We want her here because she's got answers for us.
Yes, you can hear.
I mean, what time?
25th?
I'm good this night.
I might be away the 25th.
Are you away on the 26th?
Yeah, I might be for the whole week.
What time did you wanna do it on this? I'm not going anywhere,
No, you're on vacation.
Staycation.
so I mean,
We're on vacation. We're not doing that.
and it has to be a Monday or Tuesday,
Oh, when he's on
No.
vacation?
Do we,
cause Wednesdays.
if we have the ZBA come, do we need to have Allison here, or do we think that we can just have her?
Yeah.
Well, the next, she was gonna update us on some things next meeting.
Yes,
I know, but
I
she's on
could-
vacation, so
I
either
could-
we're gonna wait
Oh,
a
do you
month
just wanna
to meet.
press on with the ZBA and then do her?
Yeah, cause if not, we're gonna
Then
wait a
let's
month.
press on.
Allison just asked, does it have to be a Monday or Tuesday? I said, not by my count. I don't know about you guys.
yeah, because we could
Is the
do,
21st our meeting?
Yes.
oh, okay.
We did that. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to do it on the 18th or 19th, chances are I might come, regardless.
No, we don't want her to come, it's her
But
vacation.
but if you have it that day, chances are I'll come. So
We're just not gonna.
I
tell you
just
about
won't tell them what the meeting
Yes.
is.
Let's violate open meeting law.
I won't invite her.
How about the 14th?
I'm out the 14th,
Sounds
15th.
like.
Oh, okay, you're out there.
And that Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. I know it's a weird vacation, but it's just so that I can come into the office Wednesdays. It's all thing.
Okay.
So Wednesday, she's suggesting.
What
Yeah,
day?
either Wednesday the 13th or Wednesday the 20th.
I can do those days, I think.
I can't do the 20th. If we're gonna do it at 3.
And I guess the 13th is that next Wednesday?
Yeah.
That's too soon, you won't have.
What about the 27th? That's a Wednesday? You're gonna
No,
be back?
John's
I'll be
away.
away, but you guys can probably,
The
if you
20,
wanna do
that
the
last
meeting
week you're away.
without me.
I've got it mixed up.
Well, I think you should be here, John.
Why don't you just have it the 18th or the 19th, and then at the very least, I can write up what I find.
Well, I can also send a Zoom
I
link.
can zoom in from, I mean, I'm gonna be probably at home, but that's
But you're on
fine too.
We're not
vacation,
gonna
but
give,
you're
we're gonna
zooming
give you a
in.
fake link.
I can zoom in, it's not a big deal,
Big point.
no big deal,
Well, you want her to zoom in? Mark Milton does it all the time.
I can
It's
do
her
that.
vacation. No, I don't want her to zoom in.
It's not a big deal.
She said it's not.
Or
a
I
big
don't,
deal.
or I won't come, and then I can look into those questions and I can get some answers that one of you all can
Yeah, you can
report.
meet on the 18th with just the ZBA and then meet afterwards when she gets back for
Yeah, no.
all
I
her
don't-
Yeah, why don't we
information.
do that?
Yeah, that too.
Okay, 3 PM on the 18th?
ZBA.
Or planning board if you can't get them. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'll see which one I can get in.
Right, yeah, because we're gonna meet one or the other next meeting, so.
Sure. I can do that.
Okay, so we got 3 PM, Monday the 18th. Okay. I think that's all we have. A motion to adjourn,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You are adjourned.